For the United States of America, Dennis Brewer. For Canada, Gary Leach. For Australia, John Weaver. For Belgium, Peter First. For England, Steve Shinnick. For France, Ed Chambers. For Finland, Bobby Disher. For Germany, Randall Resch. For Ireland, Harold Wheeler. And for Japan, Steve Sedberry. For Mexico, Linda Unruh. And for the Netherlands, Bob Berry. For Poland, Tim Vibert. Scotland, Al Gregg. For South Africa, Laurens Rickert. For Sweden, Randy Olsen. For the United Arab Emirates, Bill Byers. And for Switzerland, Steve Bowman. And for Wales, David Ross. The chair acknowledges the candidates for induction together along with the international colors of the members of the International Towing and Recovery Hall of Fame and Museum. Will the flag bearers please now return to their seats? Michael Espasi, escorted by Peter Espasi. Scott Burrows, escorted by Nancy Burrows. John Caldwell, escorted by Nick Ovenden. Reni Horton, escorted by Ruth Horton. Danny Horton, escorted by Tanya Horton. Cynthia Martineau, escorted by Chad Dupuis. Glenn Neal, escorted by Debbie Neal. Jerry Roscoff, escorted by Jeff Roscoff. The International Towing and Recovery Hall of Fame seeks to acknowledge extraordinary contributions made by individuals on behalf of the towing and recovery industry. Any active member of the museum may submit a nomination. The election to the Hall of Fame is by written ballot cast by the Board of Directors. Election to the Hall of Fame is the highest honor our industry can bestow, and those so honored are truly the best of the best. We will now proceed with the induction ceremony. President Bill Graziano will act as the inductor, and First Vice President Jeffrey Godwin will act as the escort. Will Peter Aspesi please escort Michael Aspesi to the induction station? Order of induction number 324. Born into the industry in 1973 and the son of a Hall of Fame inductee, Mike was well positioned to carry on his father's legacy, and more so to create his own. He is also unique in that he grew up not far from Boston, yet speaks regular English. A second-generation tower and company owner, Mike runs and operates Ted's Towing in Southborough, Massachusetts. Mike has been a valuable resource for the industry, both locally in his home state of Massachusetts and nationally. He was instrumental in forming the Statewide Towing Association's Training Academy and became one of the early trainers after assisting in getting the curriculum approved and required by the towers servicing the Massachusetts State Police. Mike was instrumental in forming the Mass Crisis Management Team that reacts and assists the families of towers who have lost a loved one with funeral processions and protocols regarding drivers' behaviors and dress when attending, as well as organizing the logistics and law enforcement needs for all. He was instrumental in organizing the STA's annual charity golf event, which sells out and has raised thousands of dollars for families, individuals, and children in need. Should also be noted that the reigning champion is right here. Mike has organized toy drives and fundraisers for medical patients and cancer patients, and one of his most memorable activities was organizing a toy drive for the victims of Hurricane Sandy. When it came time to collect and coordinate all the toys donated by towers in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, Mike took the reins and not only built wooden boxes to house them all, but led the procession in delivering them to New Jersey. An avid cyclist, Mike trains for and participates in the Pan Mass Challenge, a 200-mile bike ride which has raised as much as $50 million for cancer patients and the Dana-Farber Cancer Foundation. Mike has received numerous accolades for his achievements, and in 2016 was presented the Tow Times Rising Star Award. Additionally, Mike is an active member of the TIM Task Force for the state of Massachusetts. Michael Aspesi, order of induction number 324.
Good evening. I am honored and humbled to be here, being inducted into the Tow and Recovery Hall of Fame, and to join past recipients who I've long admired and respected. A special thank you to the Board of Directors for selecting me and those who nominated me and supported my nomination. And a salute to this year's inductees, all of whom have made significant contributions to the towing and recovery industry. This moment is much bigger than me. This moment is for all of my employees, my wife, my children, that stand beside me and allow me to dedicate so much time to making the industry better. I'd also like to thank my mother, who has always been there, so dedicated and supportive to our family. And I'd like to pay special attention to my father, Peter, who was inducted in the class of 1991. He's been my mentor throughout my career, and from a very young age, my father saw my passion for towing. He taught me to give back to those in need and the meaning of hard work. Everyone needs such a mentor in their life, and I'm lucky to call him my father. Thank you. I know it wasn't easy, and I'm pretty sure you lost most of your hair doing it. To my colleagues and fellow STA board members, thank you for your passion and dedication to our industry. Together, we will continue to take pride in our industry and give back to those in need. We must continue to work together and support each other as a united group and spread the word about education and safety. Thank you.
Will Nancy Burrows please escort Scott Burrows to the induction station? Order of induction number 325. Scott Burrows was also born into the towing industry in 1951. A sixth-generation tower, Scott runs Burrows Wrecker Service in downtown Sligo, Kentucky, which has been in business for over 100 years. A longtime proponent of education in the industry, Scott has served his state towing association at various levels, most notably as president. In addition, Scott has served as a director for the Kentucky State Trucking Association and served his community as an elected member of the Board of Education. Scott has been a longtime contributor of articles to industry publications, footnotes in the Illinois Association publication, The Beacon. Those that know Scott personally know he is never at a loss of words to share his wisdom. The Oscar music may cue up tonight if he gets a little bit out of hand. Scott has been an active member of the TRA Education Committee for years and helped create the first traffic incident management handbook. He also served TRAA as its vice president. One of his proud accomplishments, of which there are many in his long career, is being appointed by the governor to the Kentucky Youth Bullying Prevention Task Force back in 2014. Tasked with finding solutions to make schools safer and free of bullying and harassment. There is one episode of harassment reported, including bullying, every 4 minutes of each school day. Scott was instrumental in his role at TRAK, leading and hosting training seminars for operators, legislative efforts at the state capitol, and leading the association in sponsoring a scholarship program for students who were first in their family to attend college. To steal a quote from Scott that speaks to his character, I take pride in my work, whether it's clearing incidents or accidents on the interstate or reading to a first grade class at the elementary school. The first is financially rewarding, but the second, sharing my time with youth in our schools, is emotionally gratifying beyond description. Scott Burrows, order of induction number 325.
Well, he stole my thunder. Thank you so very much for the honor of speaking to you today and this momentous occasion. When I was discussing schoolwork with one of the granddaughters, she shared that her social studies class was looking at prehistoric artifacts. We talked about those being objects that had survived from an earlier time or items that were sentimental or historical value. They're also referred to as relics or antiques. She said it could also be a custom or a belief that had survived or had made its way from an earlier time, but it's probably now outmoded or outdated. Later in the conversation, I mentioned I was coming down here for this weekend, and with a twinkle in her eye, she asked if I was a relic or an antique. Well, I'd like for you to consider some historical thoughts with me. My grandfather began with a 28 Cadillac LaSalle with a manly crank wrecker crane, and it had a crank to start the engine. My father's truck, 21 years later, was a 49 Ford with a V8 and a W45 Holmes, but it still had a crank to lift the booms up. 21 years later than that, a 1970 white was my truck. We'd gotten up to 12-volt starters, but I still had to crank the booms up. 21 years later, my son's tow truck was a 91 International, and we finally got away from the cranks. Now, there's a next generation truck 21 years later sitting there at the shop with twin steering axles and all sorts of shiny stuff, and it's waiting for the next generation Burroughs to acclimate himself or herself to the seat and the controls. I would certainly not be here today if it weren't for my family and the employees of our company. You've heard me mention my father and my grandfather. Our business started when my great-great-grandfather came home from the Civil War and started blacksmithing. I would be remiss if I failed to acknowledge the women in my family. My great-grandma, who warmed up the engine oil so they could pour it into trucks and start them in the cold weather, cranking them by hand. My grandma, who hauled fuel for the trucks and for resale, and who chased down parts, and she also chased down the customers that were delinquent to pay. My dad's sisters, who worked with my grandpa while my dad and my uncle were over in Europe in World War II. My mom, who drove trucks, managed the books, answered the phone, managed the books, cleaned and shined, and did I mention she managed the books? There's also my daughter, who's been my faithful office manager for over 20 years, and my lifetime companion, my wife of 47 years and 46 days, the love of my life, who cares for me, prays for me, cleans up after me, and tries her best to keep me honest. We've been blessed with a great group of employees over the years, and we've got two guys that have been with us for 30 years. They're there tonight so that we can be here tonight. I've also been blessed to work with Casey, who continues to hope that next week will be the week that I decide to retire. I also have to admit that more and more Casey's becoming the face of Burroughs Wrecker Service. He's the one that customers and the emergency responders want to see roll out of the truck, and not the old guy that has to hold on to the rails to get out. And finally, I've got to acknowledge that God has blessed our business and our family immensely, so much so that our cup runs over, and goodness and mercy has been following us every day. Thank you.
Will Nick Ovenden please escort John Caldwell, Order of Induction number 326, to the induction station. Born in 1957, John Caldwell has long served the industry in the UK. From across the pond, John has not only dedicated his career to bettering the industry, but leading the charge for manufacturer standards on equipment for the recovery industry in Europe. He started in the recovery industry in 1972 as an operator and was one of two engineers responsible for the inspection and standards of the Avro for the southern part of the UK. For the last 24 years, he has been employed by Boniface Industries and is currently involved with the Rolls Group, or the Recovery Operator Licensing Scheme. He has served Avro as an engineer, setting the standards for recovery operators' equipment that is now recognized by all government bodies. As a council member and past chairman of the IVR, he assisted in raising the standards among all manufacturers and suppliers to the UK. He is a certified automotive engineer, member of several operational and transportation-related associations. Most important, in his off time, is a first responder and special sergeant with the Suffolk Roads Policing Unit. He has been awarded the Queen's Jubilee Medal for Services and the Queen's Long Service Medal for the Suffolk Police. This is probably the closest I'm ever going to get to the Queen, I'm sure, but I'm kind of honored. He is the past chairman of the Recovery Equipment Manufacturers and Suppliers Association and serves as the honorary treasurer of the Institute of Vehicle Recovery. I hope that pays a little better in the UK, John.
No.
John Caldwell, Order of Induction number 326.
Sorry about this, but I've got to put my glasses on. Good evening, everyone. My journey started when I was around 5 years old, and my father stood me on a box in front of one of his trucks. And he opened the hood, or we call it bonnet, for me to look inside. I must have thought, this looks good. Little did I know that motors and recovery trucks would give me such a wonderful future career. I can't believe that my passion for this would bring me to the USA here today. I guess dreams really do come true, if you work hard at them. I need to thank so many people that have crossed my path over the years, especially those who have pushed me forward, supported and encouraged me all the way. I'm privileged and honoured and somewhat overwhelmed to be here today. I will continue to try and make the difference to our ever-changing industry and growing industry for as long as I possibly can. It's truly an honour for me to belong to become an inductee to the International Towing Recovery Hall of Fame and class of 2018. And I will thank you all very much. Thank you.
Will Ruth Fortin please escort Reni Fortin to the induction station? Order of Induction number 327. Reni Fortin. Born in 1943 in Manchester, New Hampshire, Reni has been a champion for the Northeast towing industry for over 4 decades. His dedication and commitment as the president of the New Hampshire Towing Association for over 40 years has led to numerous legislative changes and safety enhancements. Most notably, Reni led the charge for the New Hampshire Move Over Law that requires reduced speed and change lanes when approaching a disabled or emergency vehicle. He has been involved in the New Hampshire Tow Show, widely recognized across the New England area and the nation for years, and held the world record until recently for tow trucks in a parade, as every year thousands of people line the street cheering on the trucks passing the beach and quite frankly wondering, where in the heck is this accident at? And it's got to be a big one. He assisted at the Capitol with laws defining lighting requirements, tie-down specifications, abandoned vehicle legislation, and the required certification of tow truck operators, among others. As if that wasn't enough, Reni took it upon himself in the late 1997 to rally together a group of towers and form the CNTA, or Conference of Northeast Towing Associations. We all know that the Northeast Corridor, with its many states and high traffic volume, can be a little bit of a different animal for logistics. I take no offense to that. By instituting communication and sharing challenges and issues that were unique to the region, they developed the Northeast Towing Rulebook that prepared businesses for crossing state lines and what to expect. You knew when you came to Massachusetts, you were pretty much screwed. Although it took a while to understand the dialects from Boston to New Jersey, this group formed a strong bond to combat and create policies that would forever assist the industry in interstate commerce. Reni has been a Cub Master for the Boy Scouts of America for over 10 years, and a member of the TIMS Committee in New Hampshire, and a member of the New Hampshire Air National Guard. Reni Horton, Order of Induction number 327.
Well, this is quite an honor that honestly I didn't anticipate. I wasn't looking forward to it. It has just been a work of love for the industry. There are just so many things going on that the drivers and the companies need to have unity and organization in trying to put things together. We have been very blessed in being able to meet a lot of good people in the 40-plus years that we've been doing this. And obviously, the industry still needs help to be able to organize and take care of these issues that are in front of us. I don't plan on quitting. I'm sorry if someone's disappointed with that. Just a little story, about 3 years ago, I did not run for president, and I was elected. So, in closing, I'd like to thank my family. My wife, Ruth, for 55 years of marriage. She is an angel putting up with me that long. And my son and daughter, Barbara and Roger, who over the years have been so supportive in understanding that this industry is not like anything else. Whenever they're ready to do something, I'm not going to be around. So with that said, I sincerely thank the honor of being able to join such an illustrious group of folks in the towing industry. And I plan on committing to getting more done if we can. Thank you.
Will Tanya Horton please escort Danny Horton to the induction station? Order of Induction number 328. Danny was born in Kingsport, Tennessee in 1951. He began working with Henry's Wrecker Service in 1970. He is employed today by Atlantic Emergency Solutions, having worked for various companies in the industry over the last 47 years. His son Dallas owns and operates Horton's Towing in Virginia today. Danny has held several positions in state and national associations, such as TRAA, VATRO, and TRPM throughout the years. He was the vice chairman of the TRAA Education Foundation and Committee, and a longtime proponent of safety for the industry. In addition, he was an original trustee of the association. As the vice chair of the original committee, Danny was the one of the key people who participated in writing and guiding the TRAA National Driver Certification Program, Level 1, which would become the first federal accredited training and certification program for tow operators in the United States of America. He designed and recreated the driver certification logo still in use today. And in the first year of its inception of program of certification, they tested over 400 operators nationwide. In 1988, working closely with his good friend Dave Jones, Danny helped launch the TOWID program, tow operators working to eliminate drunk drivers. This program, which helped to eliminate impaired drivers on holiday nights and periods, would become to be nationally recognized and was awarded by the President of the United States at the White House. Danny was an accident reconstruction specialist, and in 2000 helped organize and coordinate what was one of the first interagency demonstrations at the REC 2000, performing tractor-trailer recoveries. This style of cross-training is widely used today across the country. Danny was an intricate part of the Virginia towing and recovery operators early on, and working closely with Betty Cornwell to become one of the first instructors for Ross Kinman programs, the original training and certification classes that traveled across the country, educating operators on safety and best practices. In 2003, Danny was recognized by VATRO and received the Henry Heath Memorial Award for his contributions to the association. He has been involved in his community as a coach and sponsor of several youth programs and teams. Danny Horton, Order of Induction number 328.
Thank you. Good evening. First of all, I think Tom likes to call it house cleaning. There's apparently a pool and a bet going, and Mike McGovern has been cheering it as to how long I'll last before I cry and can't talk anymore, or if I'm going to cry, and there's at least 4 on that, so if you'd like to get in, see Mike. It will be tough. I'll do my best. First of all, I'd like to start by thanking the museum executive board, the general board members as well. It's truly an honor to be here tonight and be a part of this. I'm so proud to be a part of this class of 2018. I feel like we've got a great group and look forward to staying in touch and working with them. Time of essence, of course, so I need to be brief. I need to mention a few people that's helped me along the way. Many years ago, Tom mentioned Henry Heath. I was offered a job driving a D300 Dodge with a Holmes 440 wrecker on the back. I was excited. He towed for the police. I'd get to see wrecks. Didn't really know where that would lead me down the road. But Henry Heath, when he hired me, he was really more of a father than a boss. I grew up as a preacher's kid, and Dad was in church most of the time, so we weren't out a lot together. And Henry really filled a void in my life. And the things he taught me about how to work and work ethics have been with me the rest of my life. Another huge influence in Northern Virginia was Howard Wright. Howard was also one of the original members of the VATRO, Virginia State Towing Association. He made a mark on me that will never leave me or leave my memory. Nationally, the first time I met Dave Jones was in the early 70s. Dave came up to Northern Virginia to help establish the Virginia Tow Truck Association, VATRO, which became. Dave is the most intimidating person I've ever met in my life. I've golfed with him. I've had some stories that I don't have time to tell now, but when you're a new golfer and you play with Dave, it can be embarrassing, is all I can tell you. I picked up his marker one day and thought we'd dropped a penny, and it was his. It was his ball marker, and he asked where it was, and I said right there, and he goes, no, it was closer to the hole than that. So that was Dave. But he mentioned Ross Kenman programs. I was so blessed to be a part of that and to work with Ross and Dave. In order to be approved to do that, though, I had to go up to New Jersey to Dom's International and speak for an hour in front of Dave Jones. That's an hour that's gone and will never come back. I have no idea what I said, but a week later I was in Pittsburgh doing a class, so I guess it worked. And I just hope at this point that, Dave and Ross are proud of me, and I miss Dave and certainly wish Ross could have been here tonight. He is a huge part of my life, and I hope I've made them both proud. I'd like to, there's so many in the office that I could thank. But to move along, first of all, Tow Times for everything you've done to put this program together and work with the museum. Clarissa, I'm not sure where you are now in the place, but you have been a strong supporter and a friend to my family for so many years. Mike, you are truly a friend, a dear friend to mine, and you are my magazine. Bill, Marcy, Tom, Jeffrey, Kevin, feel like we're part family now. Sorry. But thank you very much for everything you've done for me. Mike Cherry, me and you, buddy, wherever you are over there, I love you. Marcus Messier, Paul Messier, thank you for coming down and making the drive to come here and be with me from Atlantic Emergency. Joe Pack and John Hollingsworth, our owner and CFO, couldn't be here because they couldn't get flight out of the Tidewater area of Virginia due to Ant Flo. Betty Cornwell, who was inducted just recently, worked with Tanya, I would say, behind my back, and surprised me with what happened here. I owe a lot to Betty. I wish she could be here tonight. I love her dearly. This next session I have to alter, and I'm almost done, Tom. But it says on here that both of my sons could not be here tonight due to the hurricane. Well, Dallas, who he mentioned has a towing service, has been extremely busy staging equipment for the hurricane relief. And my other son lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, Miles, and Miles couldn't get here because airports are closed in Raleigh and Charlotte. Little to my knowing, something to do with it. He's grinning, so he must know. Dallas is here tonight with my daughter-in-law and my beautiful daughter-in-law, Jessie. And if I haven't told anyone else in this room, they are the parents of my first grandbaby boy, Wyatt, the first grandchild, and June 5th, and Pappy's happy. So I am so happy he's here. I wish Miles could have been here. I love them both, and I'm very proud, very proud. Lastly, and certainly not least, I must tell you that none of my story would be complete without Tanya. It's hard to imagine, but she actually turned me down when I asked her to go out on a date. She did go home and tell her mother, though, that an old man had asked her out on a date. As I've grown to meet and live with her mother thinks a lot more of me than the guy she used to date, just for the record there. But anyway, fortunately, stalking wasn't illegal back then. Eventually, she caved in. Our first date was in a tow truck for Henry's Wrecker Service, and it had a Holmes 475T on the back of it, and happened to be the first hydraulic wrecker at the time in Northern Virginia. And the truck was named Stubby. Stubby took us out. I thought it was doing pretty good. I pulled up at their place in the cul-de-sac, and it was raining. Turned it on. She knew I was there. And then I blew the horn, and she still came out. So that is a true story. It didn't go so well. I talked a lot that night, like now. Took her back. There was no kiss goodnight, but February will be 40 years that she's been in love with my life. So I'm thrilled for that. And though through two businesses, raising two boys, she's always been by my side, and I couldn't be me without you. And I believe we all dream. I certainly do. But my dreams never take me this far. Thank you all.
Will Chad Dupuy please escort Cynthia Martineau to the induction station? Order of induction number 329. Born in 1957 in Shirley, Massachusetts, Cindy, as she is known in the towing business, started in the towing business in 1985 with Colson's Auto Parts, which she co-owned with her then husband, Wayne. Cindy has supported the industry in many ways and has served as an executive director of the Statewide Towing Association of Massachusetts from 1999 through 2013. Of which she then became the executive director of the Towing and Recovery Association of America, where she holds that position today. In addition, Cindy served as the state representative for Massachusetts and as treasurer for the Conference of Northeast Towing Associations from 2008 to 2014. She the Massachusetts State TIMS Task Force for the DOT, serves as the treasurer to the Towing and Repair Political Action Committees, and has been a member of the TRA Education Foundation since 2008. In 2017, she helped start and serves on the TRA Legislative Advocacy Network. Not feeling like she had a full plate, Cindy has been an officer of the WTRA the Women's Towing and Recovery Association of America, since 2011. In her spare time, Cindy serves and has served as a Girl Scout leader and a chairperson on the number of committees for the last 24 years. You know the difference between a Girl Scout and a Brownie? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna tell that joke right now. Can't do that. Trump's president. I can say whatever I want. In her spare time, Cindy serves and has served. Wow, everyone. In 2003, Cindy was recognized as the Girl Scouts Outstanding Leader. I don't know how she finds the time to do that with all she does for the towing industry. And she was featured in Tow Time's Women of Towing and was the 2012 WTRAA Tow Woman of the Year. And in 2013, received the TRAA Distinguished Service Award. She assisted in forming the statewide Towing Academy and with several increases in the state of Massachusetts towing and storage rates. To date, over 1,500 drivers have been certified and trained in the state of Massachusetts. To sum it up, and I'll steal the following from one of her awards. This award is awarded to an outstanding woman in the towing industry who has displayed dedication in her business and showed continuous support of her state and national associations and protected the professionalism in her community for the towing industry. Cindy Martineau, Order of Induction number 329.
Okay. Thank you, Tom, Jeffrey, Mike, and Bill. Mike, I'm gonna lose it here. All right, I'm gonna get it together. I'd like to thank the museum board for this great honor, and a special thank you to those who supported my nomination, especially my friends Bill Johnson and Gay Rochester. I'm humbled to be recognized among my peers in the Hall of Fame to be a part of this great class of 2018. In the early years, when I was dispatching during a good old-fashioned New England snowstorm or releasing cars late at night, being in the Hall of Fame was probably the last thing on my mind. I went from a career as an office manager to working at a tow company and learned quickly that you have to be a jack of all trades, pitching in, doing whatever is needed. As the years went on, I got involved with the Statewide Towing Association, and in 1999, I was hired as their executive director. During my 15 years with STA, I was fortunate to meet and work with so many great names in the towing industry, more than can be mentioned here in most of this year's class. I am still close with my STA family, and I'm happy to see so many of them here tonight. Bill Johnson, John Lorenzo, Todd Chase, Peter Aspesi, Mike Aspesi, Paul King, Dick and Millie Stearns. Over the years, that towing family grew beyond Massachusetts to include people like Jeff and Jerry Roscoff, Gay Rochester, Mike Wildman, Tom Brennan, Joanne Blyton, Michelle Topol, Chuck Schmidt, DJ Harrington, and so many more. In 2 minutes, there just isn't enough time to recognize everyone who has touched my life. Like so many of you, my life has been filled with hills and valleys. During my darkest times, I was fortunate to have so many great people in my life who reminded me who I am and helped me to believe in myself again. At one point, I had considered another path, one not in the towing industry. Looking back, I am glad that I stayed. I want to thank all of you who have been a friend, a mentor, or a colleague. Each relationship has taught me something along the way that led me down this path and to TRAA. I am grateful to Joe Pedigo and to the TRAA Board of 2013 for taking a chance at hiring me. I hope they haven't regretted the decision of hiring me as their executive director today. For the past 5 years, I've had the opportunity to work with some amazing people on the TRAA board, including our Director of Certification, Elizabeth. And I believe working together, we have truly made a difference in the towing industry. I want to thank STA and TRAA for allowing me to work with such great organizations. Lastly, I want to recognize my non-towing friends and family who are here today. My family, Beth, Katie, Chad, and friends who traveled all the way from upstate New York, near the Canadian border, and others from Massachusetts. They have supported me through all these years, and I want to thank you for your love and your friendship. None of us travel this road alone. Everyone here tonight has made a contribution to the betterment of this industry. You all share a part in my honor tonight. and I thank you.
Will Debbie Neal please escort Glenn Neal to the induction station? Order of induction number 330. Glenn Neal was born in 1957 in San Luis Obispo, California. Did I get that right? San Luis Obispo. Thank you, John. I always won for the great dialect of the English language. And has been in the towing business for the last 32 years, operating a distributorship, building and selling tow trucks, and selling parts and accessories. He has always been energetic and passionate for our industry. He's been quick to volunteer and be active in the CTTA, the California Tow Truck Association, running and training schools, and even hot dog stands at the annual convention. Glenn has held several positions within the CTTA as a board member and continues to do so. He has been a chapter board member, chapter president, and has served on the state executive board as the vice president and, more importantly, the president for the CTTA. Glenn was responsible, along with others, in moving the board offices and headquarters of CTTA from Southern California to Sacramento, the state's capital, while focusing on overhauling the staff and the focus of the CTTA to be the thriving professional organization it is today. With years of dedication and a strong emphasis on education, safety, and professionalism, Glenn has routinely given his time to better the legislation for the industry in California. He has served as a liaison for the CTTA to the Transportation and Security Administration and currently sits as the large fleet representative for the association's Towing and Regulatory Oversight Council, otherwise known as TROC. Glenn has long been active in his community and local schools and athletic teams, and in 2016 received the Rich Chapel Industry Leader Award for the state of California. Glenn Neal, number 330.
Who is that guy? I'm really pretty skilled at the English vocabulary until you put me in the center of the conversation, and then it seems to go sideways. I am humbled and honored to be here this evening. This is well beyond anything that I ever thought would ever occur in my career, in my time. I can assure you, as all of my fellow classmates have assured you, that none of us here got here by ourselves. We got here because of people like you and people in our industry who we were able to share with, work with, and become part of, and who share one passion only, and that's to better our industry, to make us better people, to make our world better, and to save lives. Over the years, we've been able to do that. So I'll keep it short and sweet. I could give you a list of hundreds of people to thank. There are many folks here from California this evening that have been very instrumental in my life. And I would like to call you all out, but inevitably I will miss one. So collectively, all you guys from California, thank you very much for the role that you played in my life. I would like to blame one guy. I'm sorry, call out one guy. Bob Berry, when I started back in 1985, he had bigger trucks than I did. And sometimes kind of needed them. So I called him and he came over and he showed me how to do things that I didn't know could be done. But then he shows up in his little Nissan pickup, King Cab, crammed me in the back seat and says, I'm taking you to dinner and we're going over to San Francisco. So he takes me to San Francisco to this meeting where all these gruff, big, opinionated, strong-willed towers were. And they had this thing called a chapter meeting. In that chapter meeting that night, I learned about some California law that was able to save me hundreds and hundreds of dollars and paid for my membership for years. That was the beginning. That was before we had cell phones, before we had telegraphs. We had to reach out and grab people, and that's what led to my participation. So Bob, I thank you for that. You're the one to blame. I also need to thank, most importantly, my wife, Debbie, because you don't do everything that I was able to do without somebody taking care of the people at home and backing you up and making you look good when you go outside. And then my children, for all the missed school events or church events or whatever events that they were that they missed, or postponed birthdays or whatever, and they've all actually turned out okay in spite of me. So I'm pretty fortunate. And then ultimately, this was my mother and father's fault, because they told me at a very young age that I should go play on the freeway. And they bought me a pedal car tow truck. And in the early 60s, there's pictures of me trying to tow my dad's 57 Chevy with my little pedal tow truck. So they started it, their fault, and that's how we ended up where we are today. So again, I thank the board. I thank those that nominated me. I'm honored and humbled and grateful to be here. Thank you.
Will Jeff Roscoff please escort Jerry Roscoff to the induction station? Order of induction number 331. Jerry was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and together with her husband has run Roscoff's Towing for over 30 plus years. Working together with her husband, Jeff is not always easy, and it has its up and downs, but it's always made a little bit better as long as Jeff understands who the boss is. A natural-born leader and manager, Jerry has been active in the Wisconsin Towing Association for more than 20 years. Jerry organized and developed the Tow Woman 911 Roundtable, promoting women in the towing industry. And since her husband is the president of TRAA, she thought it'd only be fair if she assumed the role of the president of the WTRAA, and for 4 years served in that position, helping to reinvent the drive and dedication and respect for tow women in the industry. In 2003, Jerry was named Tow Woman of the Year by WTRAA, and she has worked hard to organize and raise funds for its annual scholarship fund. She is responsible for many of the children's and family activities for the Wisconsin State Towing Association, and as a regular columnist for industry publications, has been a blogger for Tow Time since 2011. Sharing her ups and downs along with thoughts on how to be better with all. Other awards Jerry has received are the Wisconsin Towing Association Service Award, the TRAA Service Recognition Award, and the Friends of Towing Ford Heroes Group Award. She has been active in her community as well, with the Chamber of Commerce, Knights of Columbus, and, bear with me here, Menominee Falls Women's Community League, and founded the Elizabeth Ministry for St. Mary's Parish in Menominee Falls. The ministry is an outreach to families in special time of parenthood. Behind every great man is an even better woman, they say, and I'm sure Jeff would strongly agree. Jerry Roscoff. Order of induction number 331.
They told me to take a deep breath, so here I go. I would like to congratulate my fellow inductees to the Towing Hall of Fame class of 2018. Not only am I honored and humbled to be a part of this class, but to also join the distinguished men and women already inducted. Thanks to those of you who sent in support letters into the selection committee. This truly is an honor of a lifetime. When I received notification of my induction, I was like, what? Who, me? With the grace of God, I just do what I do, but I could not do what I do without the support of so many. I need to thank my employees. While employees don't have a line item on a balance sheet, they are one of my greatest assets. When Clarissa Powell of Tow Times magazine asked me to write a blog about life in towing, I didn't even know what a blog was. But with her encouragement and with Tim Jackson editing, they have opened up a new joy in writing. Thank you for that support and opportunity. To the members of the Wisconsin Towing Association here back in Wisconsin, some of you are competitors, but all of you are colleagues, and you all know that you are my towing family. Being a member and getting involved in TRAA and WTRA has given me an opportunity to not only grow as a person and leader, but as a woman. For me, the most important benefits of both associations are the support and the many friends I have formed, especially tow lady friends. Mary Weber, we have laughed, cried, and had a few beverages. Thanks for always being there. I would encourage all women to uplift and support each other. It truly is all about the W. Thanks to my mom for showing me how important it is to love and finding laughter. To my family and friends, thanks for making the journey here and attending tonight. While my mother-in-law, Diane, could not be here, I need to thank her for being a mentor to Jeff and I when we were first starting our business. To my son Greg and daughter Jessie, I know there were many times you were disappointed growing up in a towing business, with missed events and me telling you to be quiet while I answered the phone. But take it from the meanest mother on Main Street. I am proud of you. I love you as fine adults and parents that you have become. I'd like to thank my grandbabies, Philip, Madeline, baby Roscoff on the way, and Isabella. They are my joy, sunshine, and love, and they remind me there's more to life than towing. To my husband, Jeff, number 2 and number 3, you can attest to this. You can sometimes be a PITA, a pain in the you-know-what. But that's okay, so I can be too. People often ask how I can work with my husband, and as many of you know, that is not always easy. But in any relationship, there is give and take, and if you have love and trust, you somehow get through. Thanks for being a good husband, father, grandfather, partner, and friend. I really could not do what I do without your encouragement and support. I know there were many times you rolled your eyes when I go into your office and say, now remember, I have another meeting tonight. In 2003, I was honored with the Tow Woman of the Year award, and since then I have been teased that I am the Tow Queen. Well, thanks to all of you tonight. You have made me feel like royalty. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the International Towing and Recovery Hall of Fame and Museum, Mr. Bill Graziano.
On behalf of the Executive Board and the general membership of the International Towing Hall of Fame Museum, it's my privilege, and it really is my privilege, it's my honor to induct the class of 2018. Congratulations.
To the newly inducted class of 2018, let me say that you have just taken a permanent place of honor in the history of our industry. In recognition for your outstanding and unselfish contributions, which clearly there were many. Today you join 323 outstanding men and women from around the world who, like yourselves, have earned the highest honor of recognition within the towing and recovery industry. Your portraits and biographies will forever proudly be displayed in our Hall of Fame as a beacon for others to follow. At this time, I'd like to invite up Rodney Pointer to offer a blessing and prayer.
Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening as we celebrate those who have given of themselves to advance the towing and recovery industry. We thank you for the opportunities to come together as brothers and sisters who share a passion for the work that we do. This morning we honored the fallen, and this evening we gather to celebrate those who help lead our industry forward. Thank you, Lord, for the meal we're about to enjoy. May the food nourish our bodies, and may our fellowship nourish our souls. Bless all those who have journeyed from near and far to join us, that they may have safe travels on the road ahead and especially back home. We thank you for all the opportunities and the blessings you bestow upon us throughout life. Thank you for all that you provide. Amen.
The induction ceremony for the International Towing and Recovery Hall of Fame, class of 2018, is now concluded. Will all present Hall of Fame inductees please come forward and congratulate the class of 2018. Once the inductees have passed, I offer everybody else to come forward behind them once the Hall of Fame members have given their gratitude of thanks and congratulations. The bar is now open. If you had an opportunity to congratulate the inductees, there will be a photo opportunity up here at the head table shortly during dinner, and we'll be serving dinner shortly. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening. Hope everybody's had a good meal. I'm not dessert. Take a look. How many countries, how many states, how many here tonight? Then take a look at the cross-section of America that you have sitting here that runs all the way over to our mother country, England. It's quite a undertaking for me. Al Gregg salivated all over my speech. Dearly beloved, that's not the right one. You know, we're all the way from, let me get this right now, Bury St. Edmunds, Suffolk, England, all the way from there to Vacaville, California. We've got the East Coast all the way up as it goes. We got a little town called downtown Sligo. And Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. You all may recall a couple of movies that were made about Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. Grumpy Old Men and Grumpy Old Men 2. And if you recognize the Anne Margaret character, well, that's Jerry Roscoff right there. And of course, let me look at my notes. Walter Matthau. There you go, the Walter Matthau or the Jack Lemmon character. Well, that's Jeffrey. That's just fine. But I know you're scratching your head. Who is that little old guy with all the dirty jokes and things like that? The Burgess Meredith character. Well, there's Mr. Weber right there. Looking back to look forward. The first time I heard this statement, it was in a Martin Luther King speech when he quoted a J.K. Adams statement. Sometimes in order to keep moving forward, not only must you take one step at a time, but you must be willing to look back occasionally and evaluate your past, no matter how painful it is. Looking back lets you know whether or not you're headed in the right direction. In our lives, we've been lucky enough to receive priceless lessons from personal and professional relationships with tow truck operators literally around the world. Many of those professionals have been immortalized in their induction into the Hall of Fame. Those men and women have exhibited a willingness to sacrifice short-term outcomes for long-lasting results, and being willing to pitch in and help get a job done regardless of how menial the task. They have been visionary while still paying attention to the smallest of details, and possessed an unrelenting work ethic, especially when focused on a difficult challenge, and a commitment to anyone or any task, always going all in, and all the while setting high expectations, not only for themselves, but for those working around them. The Apostle Paul wrote to the new Christians in the first century the following thoughts. Since we have such a huge crowd of people of faith watching us from the grandstands, let us strip off anything that slows us down or holds us back, and especially those things that wrap themselves so tightly around our feet and trip us up. And let us run with patience the particular race that God has set before us. I would suggest to you today that the great cloud of witnesses are those voices who no longer speak for themselves, but their legacies speak for them. Names like Malcolm, Kinman, Griffin, Driscoll, Barnett, Blakely, Anderson, Graziana, Massaros, Owens, Hawkins, Bowman, Bullock, Holmes, Pettigo, Hops, Roosevelt, Cardinale, Jackson, Rood, Cruz, Koff, Stringfellow, Dickinson, King, Yates. Jim Lovell, the commander of the ill-fated Apollo 13 spaceflight, once said, "There are people who make things happen, there are people who watch things happen, and there are people who wonder what happened." To be successful, you need to be the person that makes things happen. My fellow inductees here, they're going into the Hall of Fame, certainly are persons that make things happen. Thank you.
I'm pleased to announce that the nominations for the class of 2019 are now open, and we'll be accepting nominations through December 31st, 2018 for induction into the Hall of Fame. You'll be informed of the exact date and location so that we might gather once again to honor those special people who honor us. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the Hall of Fame members present. Please stand if you're an inductee in the Hall of Fame. It's always amazing to see how many return to spend a wonderful evening with us, but even more so to talk and shake the hands of those that either have been your mentors in the business or have helped you along the way. And it's truly, this industry is truly a family across the board. Here's another one just entered the room, Mr. Jeff Badgley. But, you know, as I spoke at the wall of the phone this morning, something came to my attention, and it was kind of sad. And it's not the first year in several years. And as we recognize it's such an important ceremony that we take the time to recognize those that have fallen in the industry. But as I see colleagues or friends or fellow inductees of the Hall of Fame have employees or friends be placed on the wall and to be affected by such a tragedy, it really hits home when it's one of them that walks up to accept the certificate or rose, as we saw today a couple of times from a couple of different companies. And you know that they do it right. I mean, I personally know these individuals, and I know they've dedicated their life to safety and protocols to protect their operators and to do things professionally, and yet we're still at risk out there as a group. And there's nothing that we can do to stop it. And it's just sad. And we continue to do the job every day, and our operators continue to do the job every day because of their passion and love for the industry, let alone the wages, but it's because they love what they do, and they would never think of doing something else. And just want to say hats off to our industry and the operators within it, because it's what keeps us going. We wouldn't continue as business leaders if we didn't make the money where the rubber meets the road. And I just noticed that this morning and thought it was so important. This kind of concludes our program tonight as we go forward, at least the formal part of it, but there's a few people that I'd like to reach out and thank on behalf of Bill and I for the event tonight. Clarissa and Christine and the entire team at Toe Times has done just such a wonderful job. Throughout the weekend, it's just been fantastic, not just tonight, and we have a couple of hiccups tonight that we're dealing with, and one thing I'm confident of is Clarissa will get on the ball and let people know that things fell through the crack. And it's nice to be able to come and know that you're prepared, and that as a board, we can do what we need to do and focus on the task at hand and not the little stuff. Our staff at the office, Kathy Bromgard, Niles, and the rest of the staff at the office, fantastic job this week. Bill and I will update tomorrow at the annual meeting a little bit of our fundraising achievements last night. And I know the Jerdan folks are in the room, and their donation was so critical to the Survivor Fund, where that truck raised $92,000 that'll be dedicated to the Survivor Fund. But overall, last night, in the meet and greet and auction, the generosity raised funds north of $175,000. Fantastic. And I want to reach down and say this because Bill and I have talked about this a lot, but recognize our board of directors. You know, today at the Wall of the Fallen, I don't know whether you noticed or not, but the chairman of the Wall of the Fallen and Survivor Fund committees, Jeffrey Godwin, wasn't present. Jeff had some emergency issues he had to attend to today that came up, and thank God he came here tonight to join us. I was surprised by that. But I'll tell you, things went off without a hitch, and the reason why they went off without a hitch is because he prepared, he delegated, everybody knew their role. He didn't have to be there to hold anybody's hand. And we have such a great board of directors right now that everybody just pitched in and got done what we needed to get done. So hats off to the current board of directors. It's a pleasure to serve with you. We invite all of you to remain and visit for a while and also get to know each of the inductees, whether through conversations or not. They're a unique group of individuals. When we had the President's Luncheon on Friday, and I got to meet each one of them, fortunately I've known several of them for several years. But what was interesting to me, and I mentioned this then, is this group is unique. Unique in the fact that it's not a group of 8 people that owned and were successful in the towing business from owning their own business and going forward. The majority of this group dedicated their life to the industry and the things that went on about it without owning their own company. They're so passionate and desire to continue to keep things moving that they felt the need to pitch in and volunteer and do things. And they have done amazing things for our industry, but more importantly in your communities back home. And I think that's what speaks volumes about our industry is our generosity in giving. And hats off to you as inductees for all you do outside of the towing industry when you go home and dedicate yourself. Boy Scout leaders, Girl Scout leaders, sponsors for local sports, associations, different things. It's amazing. The funds you raise for those in need. You don't have to do that stuff yet. You continue to do it. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you. Enjoy your desserts, hang out and sit for a little while. We'll play some music. The party's just getting started tonight. The bar's going to be open for a little bit outside. The other bar down the hall will be open. I'm sure I'll see some of you out by the fire pit. But we also have the photographers who are going to be set up directly after the ceremony out here in the hallway to the right to take family photos and pictures. It's not often we get this many towers dressed up and looking good. So you like to take advantage of it and take a few pictures here and there. If anybody's interested, you just go out and have them take their pictures. I think they'll give you a website or something to look at, and you can get back and order what you want or do what you want to do with it. But most of all, I want to say good night. Job up here on the podium. It's a true honor to do this. And thank you all for attending and coming this year. And I hope you all join us in 2019 as we welcome the next group of inductees to the Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.